Imagine inviting your brand new fiancé to your sister's 21st birthday party, only for your childhood friend to show up, give your man a massive greeting, and then look at you like you just personally destroyed her entire life. That is exactly what happened to a 26-year-old law student who shared her story online. She explains that she recently started officially seeing a guy named Matt. Since it was official, she brought him to a huge family party. An hour in, her childhood friend Carly arrives with her parents. Carly spots them, runs over to greet Matt, and asks what he's doing there. Turns out, they work in the same office building and have hung out in big group settings a couple of times. But when she introduces Matt as her partner, Carly's face completely drops. She looks absolutely furious and ignores her for the rest of the night. The next morning, she texts Carly to ask if she did something wrong. Carly completely blows up, accusing her of stealing her man. Suddenly, she starts getting flooded with aggressive, rude messages from their mutual high school friends saying the exact same thing. Panicked, she confronts Matt, asking what the world is going on and if they were actually exclusive. Matt is completely baffled. He says he views Carly purely as a casual work friend. They've never gone out, never been alone, nothing. But the drama doesn't stop. Carly and her mom are literally calling the girl's mom, spreading this massive rumor to their families that she is a homewrecker. Eventually, they agree to meet at a coffee shop to sort it out. She sits Carly down, tells her what Matt said, and asks for her side. She even looks through Carly's phone. There are 0 private texts between them, only group chats. They've never been to each other's apartments, never gone out, nothing. So she asks, "Why on earth do you think he is your guy?" And Carly directly quotes, "Okay, so we're not officially together yet, but I was sure he was going to ask to marry me really soon. He's always smiling at me and making jokes." My friends, she fabricated an entire relationship in her mind because a guy was being polite and making jokes at work. As one user pointed out in the comments, the concept of thinking a guy will ask you to marry him soon and still accusing him of being unfaithful, like, the sheer delusion is off the charts. She basically tells her, "Carly, that's not him flirting. That's just Matt. He's a friendly guy, and we've been together for a while." You can practically hear her entire fantasy world crumbling to dust. Later, Matt tries to be a nice guy and sends Carly a polite text saying he's sorry if he misled her, but he only views her as a friend. But honestly, as the comments pointed out, for 2 people studying to be lawyers, their defense skills are terrible. Don't give a delusional person written ammo by apologizing for misleading them. They'll use that to pretend they were right all along. Thankfully, she just washed her hands of the whole mess. Alright, if you thought that work delusion was bad, this next story takes the prize for the single most embarrassing cover-up attempt I have ever seen in my life. A 24-year-old girl explains that she's been in a long-distance relationship with her partner for about 5 years. He recently landed his dream job in London and moved into this insane luxury high-rise building with a private gym and a pool. She finally flies out to visit him for a dream vacation, but the second she arrives, things get incredibly weird. On her first morning there, she goes down to the resident gym and notices this random woman just staring at her the entire time. She ignores it, figures it's nothing, and goes back upstairs. That evening, she and her partner get all dressed up for a fancy dinner date. She's wearing high heels. They walk out to the elevator, the doors open, and guess who is standing inside? The girl from the gym. Before they even step in, her boyfriend suddenly goes, maybe we should take the stairs." Guess what? They live on the 32nd floor. I'm sorry, but that's one of the biggest self-reports I've ever heard. Not only does she refuse, because obviously she's wearing heels, but this guy actually says, "Okay, I'll meet you downstairs," and then disappears into the stairwell. There is a hilarious thread in the comments about this, where user The Blue Ninja and Zero points out, "Dude blew his cover the way his neighbor caught him 32 flights of stairs? That's insane. Like, imagine the level of sheer panic required to run down 32 flights of concrete stairs in dress shoes just to avoid an elevator ride." So now she's stuck in the elevator alone with the neighbor. They start making polite small talk, but right as the doors open at the bottom, the neighbor turns around and drops a time bomb, saying, "Tell your man to stop stressing. I don't like men who are already in committed relationships." The girl is completely stunned. She meets up with her partner, who is probably hyperventilating and sweating through his shirt from the stairs, and tries to ask him about it at dinner. He immediately gets super defensive, accuses her of ruining the vacation, and starts gaslighting her. They get back to the apartment, and she breaks down crying from the stress. Seeing her cry, the man finally breaks and tries to minimize it. He admits that he had met up with this woman at a party when he first moved in, and things went way too far. But he tried to claim it was nothing serious, because he stopped it before it went all the way. And then, to try and buy her silence, he literally pulls out an engagement ring and claims he was planning to propose to her that weekend. Talk about a desperate panic move. But the real climax happens the next morning. The girl decides she's not going to just take his word for it. She messages the neighbor and asks to meet up for coffee to get the real story. And what the neighbor reveals is wild. The neighbor explains that they met at a building party, ended up back at her apartment, and the man completely crossed the line and let her show him affection. But the absolute second he got what he wanted, and she expected him to be a proper guest, this man suddenly remembered his morals, sat up and said, "Oh, actually, I can't do anything else. I'm seeing someone." The neighbor was so disgusted by how selfish and untrustworthy he was that she kicked him out on the spot. As user Sugar Can Kiss My Abs perfectly describes it, the idea that he took advantage of the situation and then was like, "Oh no, I can't return the favor because I'm in a relationship," is double gross. He literally tried to use his relationship as an excuse to be a terrible partner and a terrible person. Thankfully, our girl didn't waste another second. While he was at work, she packed her bags, left the apartment, caught the first train home, and ended it completely. She even ended her post saying she at least got to try a cool matcha latte at the train station, completely unfazed by his drama. At least the matcha was good. If you thought that elevator sprint was wild, it gets so much worse. Let's move on to our third story, titled, "Am I the Idiot Because I Told My Best Friend That He Had Ruined His Relationship and Now Has to Live With It?" The girl who posted this explains she has a childhood best friend named Florian. Florian was with his partner Clara for over 10 years. About a year ago, Florian decides he's missing out on things and pressures Clara into changing their relationship rules, basically giving her an ultimatum so he can see other people. Surprise, surprise. He immediately starts going out with a female coworker. Clara is completely devastated. Since Florian is out living his best life, the girl takes Clara out for a girls' night to comfort her. At a gathering, Clara meets a great guy named Mark. There is an instant spark. They start seeing each other properly, and Clara completely leaves Florian behind. The girl literally warns Florian beforehand, "Hey, you need to stop this nonsense right now, or you are going to lose her forever." Florian doesn't take her seriously, until Clara leaves him for good to marry Mark. Suddenly, Florian goes into a full, toxic meltdown. He demands his friend cut contact with Clara, starts aggressively bad-mouthing her, and plays the ultimate victim. Fast forward a bit, the friend group goes out for dinner, and Clara shows up alone out of respect. Florian immediately pipes up saying, "Oh, trouble in paradise? Guess he was the wrong guy for you after all." The entire mood is ruined. Clara says she didn't bring Mark out of respect for him, and Florian snaps back, "You should have thought about respect before you broke my trust." Broke your trust? My guy, you forced her into changing the relationship rules so you could go out with your coworker. You literally asked for this. There is a legendary comment on this post by a user named Win Awards that sums up Florian perfectly. He thinks he's playing poker and he's got a hot hand, but he's playing bridge and he has 3 magic cards and a subway punch card. And he keeps on yelling, "All in!" The girl finally snaps, loses her temper in the restaurant, and yells at him that he is solely responsible for ruining his own relationship. Florian storms out and goes on a massive smear campaign. He tells his mom a completely fabricated lie, claiming Clara and Mark showed up hand in hand taunting him, and that his best friend yelled, "Serves you right, she found someone better." She has to literally sit down with his mom, crying, to set the record straight. When his mom confronts Florian for lying, he calls her up screaming. She straight up blocks him and cuts him off. But it gets better. In the final update, Florian tries to turn the entire friend group against her. He goes to their friends and gives them another ultimatum. "It's either me or Clara and her." And the friend group's response? They instantly chose the girls, completely uninvited Florian from their annual trip, and cut him off entirely. As the comments said, this dude is literally addicted to giving terrible ultimatums, and he acts shocked every single time it backfires completely. For our fourth story, we are shifting from toxic partners to an absolute textbook case of a delusional ex-boyfriend trying to completely wreck a happy marriage. This post was shared by a 31-year-old husband who explains that he and his wife have known each other since childhood, Back in high school, his wife dated this one specific guy who was essentially a total deadbeat. The guy ended up abruptly breaking her heart, skipping town right before graduation, and leaving her completely devastated. The husband was the one who helped pull her back together. They fell in love, got married, and recently welcomed a beautiful 6-month-old baby. Everything is perfect until a few weeks ago, when the wife goes out to the store to grab some milk and literally bumps straight into that same high school ex. Keep in mind, they live on the completely opposite side of the country now. It's a total 1 in a million coincidence. It turns out the ex finally got his act together, went to college, and is now working as a journalist. Since the husband works a super demanding, time-intensive job and the wife is a stay-at-home mom with a newborn, she starts talking to the ex during the day. They go for casual walks in the park with the baby, grab lunch, and he even comes over to their apartment a few times to visit. The husband starts feeling incredibly insecure and jealous, bearing his feelings because he doesn't want to seem controlling, but he's secretly terrified his wife still prefers her first love over him. Now in the comments, people were originally side-eyeing the setup hard for letting this guy into their house while the husband was at work. But wait until you hear what this absolute clown of an ex does next. One afternoon, the husband gets a frantic call from his wife at work, begging him to come home early. She sounds completely shaken up. He rushes back to the apartment and finds his wife having a total emotional breakdown. It turns out, the ex-boyfriend had completely misread the situation and dropped a full romantic confession on her, right there in her living room. He literally looks a married woman with a 6-month-old newborn in the eyes and says, "I've loved you since high school, but I never felt good enough for you. But now that I've finally made something of myself, I'm finally worthy of you." He then tells her he was just offered an incredible job abroad, but he is willing to turn it down right now if she leaves her husband for him. The sheer audacity. He really thought he was the main character in a romantic movie. Thankfully, the wife immediately snaps out of her shock and tells him to completely let him alone. The comments section absolutely destroyed this guy. A user named Istara pointed out the real truth. Absolute, utter nonsense. He left her because he thought he could do better. A decade later, he's realized he can't, so he's back to his safe backup option. And user FitBat244 called him exactly what he is, a selfish jerk who tried to come in and flip a happy family's life upside down just to satisfy his own ego. The best part? The husband and wife actually sat down, talked it out like mature adults, and he even showed her his Reddit post. They realized the ex only tried to slide in because the husband had been acting a bit distant due to his own anxiety. They decided to cut back on work hours, block the ex forever, and go visit family back home. A completely wholesome victory against the delusional homewrecker. For our final story today, we have an absolute textbook case of extreme projection. The guy who posted this one is the lead singer of a band. His partner has always been incredibly paranoid and insecure about him being in music, constantly accusing him of sketchy behavior, even though he has never done anything wrong. She's always hiding her own phone and getting shady late-night texts, which is already a massive red flag. One night, the band is playing a huge show. Right after they finish their set, they go backstage, and their guitarist suddenly collapses. He is having a severe, life-threatening medical emergency. The singer is frantically doing everything he can to stabilize his friend, shouting for someone to call emergency services, entirely focused on saving his friend's life. In the middle of this absolute life-or-death chaos, his partner walks backstage, pushes through the crowd, sees him hovering over the guitarist, and starts screaming at him. She literally accuses him of being inappropriately involved with his male guitarist right there while the guy is fighting for his life on the floor. She starts throwing a massive tantrum, screaming that they look too close and that she knew he was lying to her. The security team has to physically remove her from the venue while the medical team arrives. The guitarist is rushed to the hospital, where he luckily survives. But the relationship is instantly over. The singer ends it on the spot, tells her to pack her things, and removes her from the apartment. And the ultimate twist? It turns out she was aggressively projecting the entire time. A few weeks later, it's discovered that she was actually being unfaithful to him with one of her coworkers, which perfectly explains why she was so obsessed with hiding her phone and accusing him. Honestly, between Carly inventing an entire relationship in her mind, the London guy running down 32 flights of stairs, the extremely selfish dude with ultimatums, the ex trying to home-wreck a family with a newborn baby, and that girl interrupting a literal medical emergency to make baseless accusations. The delusion today was absolutely off the charts. Let me know in the comments which of these 5 people was the most completely delusional. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the drama. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next stories. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.